Singapore is a cosmopolitan city-state that became independent from the British in 1965 and is now one of the world's leading economic centers in shipping and banking. This place is expensive by Southeast Asian standards, with everything costing about double what it does elsewhere in the region. While most people come here for a couple of days just to do Singapore and check it off their bucket list, over the past few years, the city has shed some of its stuffy nature and become a much more fun city. I love this city and think it deserves longer than that. There's a lot to do here, from incredible tropical parks by the Malaysian border, delicious and cheap Chinese and Indian food, shopping, fun theme parks, beautiful beaches, and a world-class zoo. Singapore rocks. Typical costs. Accommodation here isn't cheap. You'll pay between 15 to 17 SGD per night for a bed in a dorm room at a hostel. Most hostels offer free Wi-Fi, free breakfast, and some offer free linens. You can find a room in a 2-star hotel with amenities like air conditioning, private bathrooms, free Wi-Fi, and a TV starting around 45 SGD per night. Most large hotels cost between 80 to 110 SGD per night. On Airbnb, you can find shared rooms starting around 22 SGD per night and entire homes including studio apartments starting around 85 SGD. Food. You'll find all kinds of food from all over the world in Singapore, but especially Chinese and Indian food. Chinese and Indian food is usually around 8 to 9 SGD per meal. As for Singaporean specialties, try the seafood. There are plenty of low-cost eateries around Singapore with street stalls typically selling food for less than 6 SGD per meal. Most casual restaurants are around 20 SGD, and after that, the sky's the limit. If you cook your meals, expect to pay 75 SGD per week for groceries that will include pasta, vegetables, chicken, and other basic foods. Transportation. There are plenty of buses and taxis around Singapore, but the Mass Rapid Transit MRT runs the length and breadth of the country. MRT tickets vary based on the distance traveled, but generally cost around 4 SGD. There's also the Singapore Tourist Pass, which has unlimited travel within a designated time period. A 1-day pass costs 10 SGD, a 2-day pass is 16 SGD, and a 3-day pass is 20 SGD. Note that there is a 10 SGD deposit that's returned if you return the card 5 days after purchasing it. Activities. On the whole, activities in Singapore are not that expensive. Some, like the Singapore Botanical Gardens and Bukit Timah Nature Reserve, are free. Entrance to Singapore Zoo is 48 SGD. Suggested daily budget 55 to 80 SDG / $40.55 USD. Note: this is a suggested budget assuming you're staying in a hostel, eating out at the cheaper hawker stalls and in Little India, cooking most of your meals, and using local transportation. Using the budget tips below, you can always lower this number, but remember, if you stay in fancier accommodation or eat out more often, expect this to be higher. Get the guide. Money saving tips. Take public transit. Travel on public transport is just 10 SGD per day for tourists with a Singapore Tourist Pass. This will get you unlimited rides on a number of buses and trains. Eat on Smith Street. The stalls here offer food for less than 6 SGD and are a great place to sample local snacks. Eat cheap, save money on food by eating in Little India, Chinatown, or the hawker stalls throughout the town. Meals in these places cost only a few dollars. Couchsurf. Use Couchsurfing to stay with locals who have extra beds and couches and stay for free. I use the service a lot and find it not only saves me money, but I meet great people too. There's nothing better than having a local guide to show you the ins and outs of the city. Stick to happy hour. Alcohol is expensive in Singapore, which means you'll want to limit your drinking. If you do plan on having a